Now it is my pleasure to introduce Nathalie Garcia, who is the founder of Practice Better. And during this challenging time for all of us, some of the things that we're doing is trying to find different ways to get our medicine out there and to stay in touch with our patients. And I've been a very happy user of Practice Better since 2017, off and on. And now I'm back into it, and I'm so happy to be able to share this with you, because not only is it a platform for us to achieve telemedicine, telehealth, but also it's a platform for educating patients using programs and classes and that kind of stuff. And I don't think it's something that most people really know about. So I'd like to introduce Nathalie. And Nathalie, if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself and why on earth did you start Practice Better? Because to my knowledge, you're not a software engineer, but it's a brilliant platform.
Thank you, Lisa. You're definitely right. I am not a software engineer by any means. So as Lisa said, I'm Nathalie Garcia. I'm the co-founder of Practice Better. So the other founder is the tech brains. So where does Practice Better come from? It's a great question, and we definitely did not think we were going to build this. We set out to solve a problem for me. So I was a holistic nutritionist, really struggling to piece together all of the different aspects of working with clients in a way that was streamlined, in a way that eliminated all of the human error with the multiple touch points. I was piecing together like an online scheduler, then an online payment processor, online form software, so that way my clients could sign their forms, and then sending everything else via email. So, you know, the intake forms that they had to download and print and complete and upload and scan back to me. It was a mess. And it didn't take me long to realize, even just with my first few clients, that like it wasn't sustainable. So my partner and now my co-founder, Graham, decided, he was like, well, what do you need? Like, you know, what would you need in order to be able to really build a sustainable practice? So we started kind of just talking through some of those elements that we'd need, how, you know, these different functionalities would have to talk to each other, and beyond just streamlining my work, that my clients really needed support on their end as well. So we couldn't leave that piece out of the equation. So we started to build Practice Better, thinking that my small community of, you know, holistic nutritionists in this little corner of Toronto would use it. And we really quickly found that it was an issue and a real pain point that so many more practitioners were facing. And, you know, we were onto something, and it grew. Now we've got over 10,000 practitioners using Practice Better.
Wow. I'm so impressed, because I think the other piece to this that you touched on is the client needs, and being able, I think as a nutritionist especially, you have to have some kind of treatment plan, and it's, you know, it's ongoing treatment plan, one after the other kind of stuff. Once you get information, then you have to sort of change perhaps what it is that you recommend next. Right. So being able to communicate all of that and track it is something that as acupuncturists we have to do, but we use something called EHR, electronic health records. And I don't know, is that something that you have to integrate to as a nutritionist, or does Practice Better take the place of something like an EHR?
Yeah, so for the most part, and it really depends on how you practice, but for the most part, if you're working in more of like a coaching, if your practice focuses on coaching, so the ongoing support, then likely it would replace your EHR. Okay. If you're working more of like, if you're working in a hospital, you're working in a very clinical environment, it may not do exactly what you need. If you're working really clinically, they come in one time, they come in and then they leave, and then that's kind of it. There's not much interaction between. If you are coaching these patients or clients, then it likely will do more than what your current system does, give you greater flexibility in terms of how you can grow your practice. and honestly kind of start streamlining things that you may not have realized you would have otherwise been able to streamline.
Yeah.
So I think that's a one piece, like I can't talk about enough, is if you're working in a coaching environment, you're creating this coaching relationship with your patients or clients, that ongoing support and accountability and structure, easy to access their information, those things are all really important in order to build a sustainable practice. Because if they don't succeed, they stop coming back. If they don't succeed, they stop referring people to you. So, working in private practice, our practices largely rely on our clients actually doing the work and getting better. And that's a piece we really can't overlook. And it's a piece that we can really easily get burned out from if we don't have the right tools in place to help support that work that we really need to do with these clients or patients.
Right. Right now, acupuncturists are sort of straddling the line between telemedicine and kind of what that means, and doing insurance billing and the health coaching piece. And I think that ongoing support and structure, we don't see ourselves as coaches.
Right.
Like that doesn't typically fit what
Right.
we do, although that's probably a lot of what we actually do for our patients in terms of providing treatment plans and accountability and that kind of stuff. But I love the way that this gives us a choice, really, and we can kind of combine things too. I think I recall that there is a piece in Practice Better where we can do some insurance billing, but correct me if I'm wrong there.
Yes. So if you're issuing super bills, you can issue those through Practice Better. If you are doing insurance billing, you can generate your CMS 1500 forms directly from Practice Better. You cannot currently submit them to a clearinghouse, but you can download them and upload them directly into Office Ally. So that is optional. I just want to touch back on that piece about coaching, because whether you think about yourself in a coaching relationship with your patients or clients or not, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be coaching them on an ongoing basis. But, are they going to reach out to you between sessions? Like, do they have questions that come up? Are there things you want them to monitor between sessions? Whether you do anything with that information between sessions or not, and you just take a look at it once they come in, them being able to track that stuff in real time gives you a much clearer indication of what's actually happening than them coming in 2 weeks later and saying, you say, oh, what did you do for the past 2 weeks? And now they're just trying to remember. So even if you don't actually have that coaching interaction with them between sessions, your clients can still continue to provide you with information that's going to be critical to their care, that you just might evaluate when they actually come in, if at all. It might just be a way to keep them accountable.
That's really nice, because they can actually submit notes and take notes on their end and keep a diary or whatever, which doesn't mean they're emailing us or contact. They're just keeping track of everything, which is really nice. I can't tell you how many times a patient will come in and say, oh, I took some notes and I forgot to bring them in, or something like that. So I didn't even think of that. Actually, that's a really great asset to have here, to have that ability for them to have a place to put all of their notes. Oh, you give me even more ideas.
And then knowing that information, that you have access to it. So now they know whether you're actually looking at the stuff or not, completely up to you and how you want to run your practice. But they know that information is available to you. So now they're on their best behavior, hopefully. Or even if you just notice that there is zero check-ins, they're not doing the journaling, or they're not giving you updates, you can shoot them a secure message in the chat and say, hey, Sandy, I haven't heard any updates from you for a couple of days. How's everything going? And that might be it. You don't have to send this email. You don't have to worry about the response coming through an email. Now this information is getting lost across different platforms, or the information, now you have to take that information from email and transfer it to their records. It's all part of their records automatically.
Right. I see you've solved a lot of problems here.
I had a lot of problems going into it, so I get it.
So let's talk about some of the, you know what, before I go through the common questions, give me an idea of just how many people are using Practice Better and what kinds of businesses.
Yeah, so we have, as I was saying, we have over 10,000, closer to 15,000 users using Practice Better now. And although we started out focusing really on nutritionists, that demographic's really grown. The types of professionals we're seeing use Practice Better continues to grow. So we've got a lot of health coaches and of course nutritionists and dietitians, NDs, chiropractors. We're seeing growth in acupuncturists, functional medicine. There's lots of growth there, which obviously brings a variety of professionals, along with it. We're seeing medical doctors. We're seeing less traditional. I was saying this to Lisa the other day. It's so funny because I'm always shocked at the types of professionals that end up using Practice Better. Some of them like, I'm glad this works for you, but that was not quite what I intended. We have psychologists, which kind of still within the same.
That makes sense.
That makes sense. But then, we had a photographer using it and a piano teacher. And I was like, okay, I'm happy that works for you. And, but the thing is there's so much overlap between running your own business and yes, there's a little bit of focus on the nutrition, or at least being able to include the nutrition. There's not really much focus other than the ability to add the nutrition piece to your practice in Practice Better. But if you're working with clients, really, you need a way to schedule time with them. If you're actually meeting with them, you need a way to collect payment. You need a way to collect information and maybe signatures. You need a way to communicate with them so everything's in one place. If you're taking notes on what's happening with that client or patient, you need a place to keep those notes. I mean, there's so much overlap between these different types of professionals. But the one common denominator is they're really all our users are in private practice.
I can see absolutely why a piano teacher or photographer would want to use Practice Better because you have this ability to create programs and put classes on there, which I think really differentiates Practice Better from any of the other telehealth or telemedicine platforms. And I don't want to put down any other platforms because everybody has a use and a tool that fits them. But what I really want to communicate to our audience is this other piece where we have the ability to put an entire class program, which includes you can upload PDFs, you can type stuff right in there like you would a Word document. You can upload video. Can you upload audio too?
You can, yes.
I mean, it's just phenomenal that you have this place where you can put all that information and you can even release modules like week by week. Is that right?
Yes,
or
absolutely.
They can go through it all at once. You have all these choices of how you can deliver that information.
Yeah, and that's such an important piece, whether you continue to work with clients or patients. Sorry, I usually say clients. Clients or patients online, or in person or online, but in a one-to-one capacity. Or if you're looking to transition your practice either now or sometime down the road into a one-to-many capacity. So where you're doing group programs, group challenges, group whatever. So there's the option to run programs, as Lisa was saying, for both of those scenarios, whether you're working one-on-one and you just want to kind of streamline the education that goes behind working with a new client. So what are the things that you find yourself telling every new client or patient? What do you keep telling them over and over again? For me, was the importance of sleep, the importance of water, right?
Yeah.
Maybe I used to always give handouts on, how to create like fruity waters, right? And with herbs and that sort of thing, regardless of what it is that, whatever the topic is, whatever you find that you're saying over and over to everyone, time and time again, every time you onboard a new client or patient, you can build that into a program. So they sign up to work with you, maybe you do your first session, and there you go, you enroll them into what we call an evergreen program. So a program that someone can go through on their own. And the modules are released based on how much time it's been since they've registered. So now the education of more of the foundational pieces can be taken off of your plate, and you can go a bit deeper. You can focus on things that you might not otherwise have the time to focus on if you were focusing on these kind of foundational pieces. Or maybe sometimes you don't get to talk about the foundational pieces because you're too busy doing, the treatment. So now you can cover all the bases by streamlining some of it, and you don't have to be feeling like a broken record or having your clients come back to you via email afterwards asking for additional support between sessions when you're not getting paid anymore.
Right. This is so important because one of the things I want acupuncturists to think about is there will come a time when we are actually able to see patients again. And if we can take the education piece out of the treatment room and put it on a platform like Practice Better where they can access it anytime, whether we charge for it or not, that's up to us.
Right.
But give them the information like, staying hydrated. And there's one thing that I put on that I've used, and that is this little thing, how to heal your back pain overnight, which is really just how to be in a position in bed that is best for your back and neck
right.
and hips and everything. And I found myself, like you said, like a broken record. So I pull that out of the treatment room, and that is something they can access on their own. Mm-hmm. But what it does is it shortens the amount of time I need to place needles. So I can now see more people per day if I want to, because I've just shortened the amount of time that I need to be in the room because the education piece has been pulled out. Yeah. So you can actually increase the number of people you see per day, and you have this education piece that you can sell if you want to. So it gives you the opportunity to increase your revenue, basically.
Yeah, I would say it's also a huge value add, because when you do think about your acupuncturist, maybe you're thinking about that physical contact, right, where they're placing the needles, or when they might not really realize the education and the knowledge and expertise that goes behind the information that you're sharing with them, right? So it's a great value add. They log in and they say, oh my gosh, like, wow, Lisa's really thought of everything, and it also extends their vision in terms of how else they might be able to work with you. So Lisa's saying, like, if you want to think about selling your programs, obviously that's there's been a huge shift in people selling their programs online and making that accessible to clients and patients online. But now it kind of plants a seed as well for them, where they're like, okay, so if Lisa comes up with, an online program, they already have an idea of what sort of knowledge she's going to be sharing, how she's going to structure things. It kind of, it plants a seed without even having to really say much.
Yeah, I love that. Nathalie, there are a couple questions here that I'd like to go ahead and ask you. One of them is from Anya here. Can you accommodate multiple practitioners?
Hi, Anya. Yes, we can. I love how these pop up, actually. We can. It's actually not even something we've officially launched yet. So it's kind of in its soft launch mode, but we've had fantastic feedback. You can now add multiple practitioners. So you'll have one clinic owner or team owner, as we call it. And then you can, in this team plan, it comes with 2 practitioners and 2 administrators. So you can continue to build your team on top of that if you like, by adding additional practitioners. And the really cool piece about that is there's a lot of focus on collaboration. So you can share, if your multiple practitioners are working with the same clients, you can share access to those specific clients. So, each practitioner could be taking notes on that one client in an organized way. We could filter through by the practitioner for that client. The client would be able to book, or patient would be able to book with each, either or. Also, too, you can communicate with your team as well. So if you wanted to chat with your entire team. So yeah, there's a lot of functionality in there. The permissions are very, very granular in terms of what you give access to or not. So if you are the owner of the team, as we call it, you can get very granular with what you want your team members or administrators to see and not see. So yes, you can do that. It's my long-winded response to you, Anya.
Oh, that's great. I had no idea that you could do that.
Yeah, it's just been about a month.
Oh,
it's brand new.
That's amazing that you allow that, because oftentimes people have to buy separate accounts and, but to be able to have it all under one roof and to be able to interact with the same patient with different practitioners, that's really amazing.
Yeah. And the really other great thing is that your resources, you can choose to share them. So if you, for example, are, if you want to share, let's say, a form with the rest of your team, you can give the rest of your team that access to that form so they're not rebuilding the form or the note template. Or if you're, using protocols, and our protocols and Practice Better include the ability to give, just general notes, the ability to give recommendations on foods to eat, foods to exclude, foods to kind of at least reduce, the ability to make supplement recommendations as well as lifestyle recommendations. So those protocols can also be shared across the team, as can programs. So it makes it easy for the rest of your team to get set up. And of course, they also have the option to, kind of set up their own stuff if they're working, if the services or the forms or whatever don't translate across all the practitioners. But there's quite a bit of flexibility in there in terms of how you can collaborate as a team.
That's great. Which gets to Anya's next question, which is, do you provide a library with some basic information on water, sleep, exercise, or do we create all the documents ourselves? Yeah.
So yes and no. So we do have a curated database of some what we call lifestyle recommendations. They're kind of just general, but you can go in and you can modify them so that way they reflect your position, your recommendations, or you can create your own. What's really important to us, we really always think about what you're doing now and are you going to have to do that again? So there are a couple other ways that you can also kind of reuse the work that you do once. So if you are doing, for example, giving recommendations about how much water to drink, and you're not using, let's say, our curated lifestyle recommendation there, you can create any sort of recommendation that would go into a protocol and save it and even create tags for it. So if you wanted to say like general recommendation or, IBS recommendation or whatever the case might be, so you can very easily find it later. Every recommendation that you're making that would fit into a protocol can be saved and tagged. So that way, when you create a brand new protocol, you could simply search for every recommendation with that tag, or you can just, choose it from the list if you don't want to filter it down. This is something I'm definitely happy to show you a little bit later or whenever. I'm happy to show you what that looks like.
Yeah, we'll take a look at the front end and back end to Practice Better in a few minutes here.
I'm just going to add to that. One other way that you can also save time in terms of if you're saying the same things over and over again, if programs is not the right place for it, if protocols is not the right place, you can also create snippets. And Lisa, I don't know if you knew about this, but so if you can create a snippet either basically is like autofill, like the text. So what it is if you're taking a note, like a chart note on a patient, you can just highlight the text and click this little magic icon and generate a snippet. So next time all you do is like these two squiggly line brackets and then start typing the word like that the snippet's called and enter, and then all of a sudden whatever it is that you wrote, whether it be a couple of sentences or paragraphs, will be automatically pulled into that spot. So there are a few ways that you can really expedite the process of making your recommendations or even making your notes with some different functionalities that we have available.
Wow, it sounds like you really have thought through what is it that we users are going to need to repeat over and over again, and how can you prevent us from, not prevent us, but how can you make it easier so we don't have to keep doing it over and over?
Absolutely. Yeah, because if you have to do that stuff outside of your session, like that's time that you're not getting paid, or you're getting paid less because now that money is being stretched across a greater period of time. So we're very aware of, how difficult it is to be an entrepreneur, because that's what all of you are, right?
Believe it or not, yeah.
Whether you wanted to be or not. Surprise.
Right.
And so we know that the importance of being able to build a sustainable and a thriving practice means being able to be efficient at every opportunity possible. And that's why we do really think about how one feature, speaks to the next, and maybe how one action can trigger the next in the chain. So
there are a few more questions that I'm going to read off to you, or I'll post in a second. But first, I just want to get through. I know this is a big one, a couple big ones here. Is can you talk about compliance? Like for us in the USA, it's HIPAA compliance is what we're most after. Mm-hmm. Is the Practice Better platform HIPAA compliant?
Yes. The Practice Better, its default settings are all HIPAA compliant. You do have the option to do like an integration with Zapier if you're linking to, let's say, your email marketing platform. So anything you're linking external, for example, if you're using Google Calendar and you're integrating that, you may not want to sync the details back to your Google Calendar. You may, but the default settings of all Practice Better is HIPAA compliant. The video conferencing available on all the paid plans is HIPAA compliant. The communication, all of that stuff is all HIPAA compliant.
And can you talk about other countries? Because there are people from other countries in Acupuncture Business Academy in Canada, Australia. And
Yes. So we are also PPTA compliant if you're in Canada, GDPR compliant. I can't remember the term in Australia, but I definitely know that at least as of a couple months ago, we were still compliant. Their rules weren't quite as strict as what we had in the States or in Canada, but we were compliant with their recommendations. But if you have any questions, honestly, you can just send us an email to help@practicebetter.io. Ask us what it is in particular you're looking for beyond HIPAA, PPTA, GDPR, and ask us, and we're happy to let you know. And especially if you can let us know, hey, this is what my country outlines, we can very easily go, yeah. There's a lot of overlap.
Awesome. I have a few other technical questions here. So I know that we have the ability through Practice Better to send to our patients consent forms. Mm-hmm. And when I did this, I was amazed because they can sign it electronically and it dates it. And does this take the place of like a DocuSign or something like that?
It does.
Which typically you'd have to pay quite a bit of extra for.
Yeah, it's definitely an additional subscription fee. Yes, it absolutely will take place of DocuSign, HelloSign, which are fantastic services, but if you're trying to just send a form. Also, the other piece to it is that they can fill out their other forms. So any like intake forms, questions you want to, or information you want to gather at any point of their care journey with you. That information can be entered into the forms in Practice Better without having to download them. So they can just fill out those fields right from their computer. So they'll get they can either log into their client portal if they have access to the client portal, or they can do it right from their inbox. What I want to at least bring your attention to are things that you might be doing that you might not need to be doing. So again, if we're talking about a form, you're collecting information from a client, now you have to go and transcribe that information, let's say, into their note, or, you know what I mean? Where's that information going, right? So if you're using a platform, a system, for example, that's dedicated to forms, and it might be a fantastic form platform. It has nothing to do with the quality of that work. It just has to do with your workflow and where that fits in. Like in Practice Better, for example, the answers that clients give us in a form can be mapped into their client record. So we can say, hey, when someone this answer to this question goes to this section of their client record. And that information can be pulled into their chart notes. So not So if you create like a note template, so you say, hey, these are the things I ask every patient when they come in the door for a follow-up session. Well, you can just put in a placeholder that says like placeholder medical history or placeholder, basic information, which would be, their name, their date of birth, or whatever the information might be. So you don't have to be moving that information over manually anymore. So it's just to think about, I just really want to plant seeds about what are the things that you're doing on a regular basis that you're doing over and over again that you may not have been aware that you could automate or at least streamline in the very least. So that way you're saving yourself some time.
Absolutely. I'm going to ask you a question about calendar integration.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big one.
Huge.
Here. So what can you tell us about that?
So we integrate directly with Google Calendar, which is our recommendation. There is a possibility to integrate with like Apple Calendar or iCal through Google, but there are suggestions to go directly through Google because it syncs in real time. Mm-hmm. So what you can do is you can do a one-way sync, which just pulls into Practice Better the events happening in your personal Google Calendar or your external calendar, which Practice Better will take into account when they give clients options in terms of when they can work with you. So clients will never see your personal events. They won't see what's happening, but it will be taken into account. So if you say typically I work with clients on Fridays from 10 to 6, but you have an event in your Google Calendar at 11 a.m. till 12, no one's going to be able to book during that time. You can even build in buffer times around that to make sure you've got enough time to get back to wherever it is you need to be in time for your next session. You can also sync back to Google if you wanted, and that gives you the opportunity to then be able to see at a glance what's happening in your practice from your personal calendar as well. So the integration with Google is like in real time, which is why we recommend that. Again, you can link to Apple Calendar if you wanted, but that sync between Apple and Google is not quite as fast and as frequent as Google is with, just a direct integration.
And does Practice Better have the ability to send a reminder that they have an appointment coming up?
Yes. So depending on what plan you're on, you can send from 1 to 3 reminders.
Okay.
So you can customize it. You can make kind of a blanket, not a blanket, but like a default that in general, I want to send 1. But maybe it's the initial consultation and you find that in general, some clients don't show up or you're free, whatever it might be. You can add multiple just to make sure maybe for that first time they're coming in, they're really getting all of the notifications. So you can build up to 3 in there. Those can be delivered via email, or on our Plus plan, they can be delivered via email or text, SMS.
Wow, that's great. Text is so useful.
Very.
Awesome. Okay, so now I'm going to go to the questions that have accumulated here on the side in the chat. And then I want to let everybody know that we are going to go, Nathalie is going to show us inside the Practice Better platform. So hang on here. So let's see. Oh, Anya had another question about, can patients follow a link and schedule online?
Absolutely. It's a great question. Yes. So you can either send that link to them. Let's say if you're sending out a newsletter to your whole audience and you're saying, here's the new booking link, or you can actually put it right onto your website. So there are a few ways you can do that, but you can link your services right to your website if you'd like. So that way, when they come across your website, whether they're existing or new potential patients or clients, they can go and they can choose of the services that you've made public on your website, when they want to work with you and how.
And I can show an example of that later too if you don't have that set up, but I do have that. And then Sylvia has a question for you. Is there a library of CPT and diagnosis codes, or do we need to enter the codes we use most?
So there is a library of diagnosis codes. CPT codes, I believe you add yourself. I have to double check that. I think you add them yourself. Yeah. There should probably just be a handful of them, right?
Correct.
But the diagnosis codes are in there. If there's one that's not in there, you have the ability to add it yourself.
Awesome. Okay, let's see here. Oh, I see. I took a bunch of notes too. I really didn't know about the multiple practitioners and being able to have one clinic, and that's
I know
really.
you know what, Lisa, we haven't even announced it internally yet. And I know. This
We're
is,
the first.
I know. It's crazy how, everything just happened. This whole situation that we're in happened, and it wasn't the right time to be announcing it. And, we told a handful of people, and somehow they told a bunch of people. So we got lots of people already using the plan.
Yeah.
But we actually haven't even announced it yet, which is,
Wow.
it's funny.
I feel very honored.
Exclusive.
So if it's okay with you, do you want to go ahead and share your screen and just kind of give us your walkthrough of the platform? And
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, anyone who's checking, with us live here, let us know what you'd like to take a look at. I'll show you guys a couple things that I think might be relevant based on some of the questions that came up. And but I'm happy to go anywhere that you would like to go and anything you'd like to see.
All right, so I just put your screen up, so we are now looking at your screen only. The two of us are hidden.
All right, good. All right. So now I can touch my face. I'm always like,
I've already counted like 6 times I've done it.
All right, so let me just maximize the screen here. Okay, so what we're looking at right now is the Practice Better practitioner portal. So this is where you're going to log in to go and see what's happening with your clinic, what's coming up, if there are any requests coming up. You can customize this a little bit. So you can add widgets. I believe all of my widgets are already added to my dashboard, but all of these different compartments we see are all different widgets, and you can rearrange where they are, and you can decide, I don't need to know about XYZ. If you do your upcoming sessions, they'd all be listed. And if that was the most important thing, you could have that at the top of your page. So this is what it looks like. Just showing you under My Practice, this is where you set up your practice, and it just gives you an idea of the sorts of things that you can manage and practice better. Because of course we talked about a lot, and I hope that's not overwhelming. Out of this, I think the biggest thing I want to make sure you take away, health challenges, you're working with people with like IBS or people with, whatever the case might be. You can do something like an accountability group. So multiple people can join the video call if you're using the Zoom integration, and you can kind of keep them accountable and motivated to keep working towards their goal. You can do packages where you're going to combine your services. I'm just going to show you this free discovery call. So share link. So this link here, you can either there's this long link. If you're putting it on social media, I would suggest creating the short link.
What a neat feature. That's great.
Yeah, and then you just go visit page, and this is going to bring you to what your client would see if they went to this, if they clicked on this link. So for example, of the options that I provided to work with me by phone or online. Okay, so let's just say online. The days that are shaded in are the days that I'm available. So I'm doing my free discovery sessions on Fridays, let's say the 10th of April. They're going to choose a time. So this is all, just keep in mind, this is all based on the schedule, the availability that you've set up. Okay. So next, they're going to tell you basic information about themselves. So Mary Smith. They can give you their phone number if they want, or if you want, you can require it. Then we'll say next. Now, the other piece that's really cool about the online booking service is that you can also link forms to this. I definitely recommend that the forms be short forms, because you don't want someone to, let's say, decide they don't want to book a service because the form is too extensive as part of the booking process. But you can take the time to ask them maybe what are their current issues, why are they coming to see you? Maybe what have they tried in the past? So you can collect this information up front, especially if it's initial consultation, and if you're very niche and only working with specific type of client, you can use this as kind of a way to filter through the potential client, so is this going to be, you have a better idea, is this going to be a better fit? Is this a client that I take or I don't take? So it just information is knowledge, right? So here they will tell you, this is an example of someone having to sign. Now I don't have a mouse, I just have my mouse pad, so I'm going to type it in. I'm going to show you, but this is going to be hilarious, okay? They could sign like that. Or they could, I know, that is not a representation of the system. That is my penmanship on like a mouse pad. Or they can type it in, and is the same thing. And they can choose a style that's, representative of their signature. And they could say next. Oh, and then they're going to have that confirmation page where they're going to confirm and book. If you're charging clients at the time of booking, which you can also do on our paid plans, which would go through Stripe or Square, before this page where they would review and confirm their booking, they would actually have to put their credit card details in, which is great because, especially if you're going to be seeing clients virtually, you may want to make sure that you're getting that money up front. Completely up to you.
That's great. And I know that on your end, excuse me, it actually records the date and the time that they sign that, correct?
Exactly, which is all automatically part of their client record. So now you don't have to, again, go somewhere else to get this information. It's all here. And the other piece is all in their client portal as well. So they have their own record there.
So did they just create an account?
They did not. That's okay. A good question. They did not. So they don't need an account. So you can work with clients either by giving them access to Practice Better, which means they can log into the client portal and see all of their resources and, whatever you give them access to, because you can limit what they have access to. Or you could not give them access, which means they can still do their bookings, they can still do their forms, they can still pay their bills, but they're not going to be able to log in and see, let's say, a program or log in and chat with you if you've given them permission to chat with you. They're not going to be able to log in and do their food and mood journal or their lifestyle journal. So they can go through this process without actually creating an account. When they do that, you'll get a booking request. So you will have received an email letting you know that Mary Smith has requested a free discovery session. You can review it here. I can even see her form. So again, if I wanted to take a look at, is she a good fit for me? I know I didn't really fill this stuff out, but I can take a look at this now, even take notes. And I believe she's actually already a client in here. So when I go to confirm her session, if she didn't already have access to Practice Better, it would ask me if I wanted to give her access.
Okay.
So you don't have to give them access now, but you could at some point down the road. So you can.
I'm sorry, I keep interrupting you.
No, that's okay. Go ahead.
I'll put us back on screen here, so we can't touch our face now.
Thanks for the warning.
So is at that point where you confirm that you basically accept that you will see them as a client, that they then create their username and password in order to log in? Is that right?
It can be. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Or if you decided, hey, I'm going to do the first initial consultation, I'm going to do the free consultation. And then based on how that goes, I might give them access.
I see. So you really have a lot of layers of choices here where how you want to use the platform and at what degree you want to bring them in as a client. So it's much more flexible than I realized.
Yeah, and you can deactivate them if ever they stop working with you. So you want to stop giving them access to the platform the client portal. You can do that as well. Here we're in Mary Smith's actual record. So this gives you an idea of, I'll just go to her general page.
And I'm going to go full screen here so you can see what you're doing.
So this is Mary Smith's client record. So this is where everything pertaining to Mary Smith is housed. So, also too, I mean, right now we're thinking about, we want to make sure that we're flexible in the current climate, but also too, if you just think about, wanting to go on vacation, not wanting to have to run back to the office if someone has a question, all of this is available on a cloud. That's again, HIPAA compliant. So you you have this information at your fingertips at all times. So you can go in and see their booking history or what's coming up. You can see even here, there's this recent activity feed, sorry, that's the word I was looking for, feed, that tells me everything that's happened with Mary Smith. So I can see that she booked a session, the email was delivered confirming that session. I can see when she requested a session, I can see she filled out that form that we just did together. I can make a note. So Mary called to reschedule. I'm just making this up. And you can add that note to the feed, so you can create your own entries in this activity feed and even pin it to the top. So maybe this is actually like Mary has an allergy to fill in the blank, right? It could be whatever you identify as something you want to include in her history, and you can pin it to the top if it's something you want up at the forefront every time you come into her record.
That's really nice. I know a lot of times if I have a patient whose, dog died or they're going on a trip, and I like to be able to ask them about those kinds of things. So that's a nice little feature there.
Absolutely. If you're doing this call with her virtually, I can come and click and see, I can take a click on it and see the details of that session. So here we go. I can go back and I can do my charting here as well. So if we're looking at notes, so here's her note history, right? If you had multiple people on your team, you'd be able to filter according to practitioners. If you had access to other practitioners' notes on Mary Smith, you may not, but if you're the owner of a clinic, you would. You can very easily go through and, check your history of notes. We go back to protocols that we talked about earlier, and in terms of creating new protocols. So these are our protocol templates that I've created. So if, again, getting started, maybe you tell all your patients or clients the same thing every single time you meet them for the first time, and you modify them a little bit based on their individual needs. You can start from that starting with that framework and then just edit as needed.
So this is the template that actually exists right now for us to choose from.
It does not. This is just a demo one. However,
there are lots. I've seen lots and lots of really amazing ones.
You can. We have a direct integration with FullScript. So if you wanted, you could pull in their supplement protocols in through Practice Better. But that one doesn't have food recommendations. Let me go back to a food one, just to give you an idea as to what this looks like and how detailed you can get and how beneficial that's going to be to your clients or patients. So in terms of not having to answer these questions between sessions again. So if we're saying eat more leafy greens, here are some examples of the leafy greens that I want them to eat. And here's an explanation as to why. So they don't have to come back and say, Lisa, why did you say, what did you say I should eat more of? So it does give them more information in an organized fashion, so they don't have to come back to you quite so frequently. If we're adding supplements from FullScript, so this is the search. So if I want to say like vitamin C, for example, everything with vitamin C will come in. I
see. And then you can pick the brand or the type.
You can choose. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, this is backordered. That's not the one I want to select. Or if you do want to select it, let's just say, sorry, that's not what I want to do. Let's go back to FullScript. You can compare them is what I was trying to say.
It's amazing versatility. And even if we didn't use the exact things that you had in there, it gives us a very nice framework for us to create whatever it is that we want to create.
Yeah, so if you're comparing 5-HTP, that's just the first example on the list, I can click on the 3 dots and pull up the details about the 5-HTP. And if I wanted to find similar products, FullScript offers those similar products at the bottom. So I could just click on the orthomolecular brand and I can compare them side by side, right? And then I'm like, okay, this is the one I'm going to choose. Plus, so now it's included in my protocol.
Wow.
So let's just go there. You can do lifestyle recommendations. You can add supporting documents. So if I show you what this looks like to a client once it's been published, exclude supplements. This protocol template was created in my Canadian FullScript account, and I currently have my US one connected. So I'll show you one that exists. So preview, this is what it looks like to your client. So can you imagine it's a little bit more organized than sending them an email and having to type this stuff out. And there's not anything wrong with an email, but it's just easier to lose. You have to type it out every single time. It's just organized, and that they can view the documents that you sent them to support these recommendations and their supplements. Whether you're using the FullScript integration or adding your own supplements, we generate this chart for you. So they see what it is you want them to take, why you want them to take it, and when you want them to take it. So it's just a bit clearer for them. The idea is, let's make things as easy as possible for them so that they can succeed and they can continue to come back and work with me, and again, refer other people to me.
Oh, that's beautiful. And it also is something they can go back to over and over again, and the links are all there. So that's really, really great.
Exactly. We've got the messenger in the bottom right-hand corner. So if you're doing, messaging with clients one-on-one, here I can check in with Mary Smith. How's she doing today? She can answer me in real time. If you want to create boundaries around this, you can set up an autoresponder that says, I'll get back to you within 24 to 48 hours. Definitely whatever boundaries you want to create around any use of Practice Better or anything in your practice, really. I definitely recommend, also making that part of a conversation of one of your first sessions, but you can reinforce those boundaries by creating an autoresponder. If you move over to maybe a one-to-many model where you're working with groups, you can do the group accountability here in Practice Better as well. So, it's certainly not Facebook, but it's still quite robust in terms of, someone can ask a question, you can add a comment, you can post photos, right? Your clients, what they see right now as the practitioner, I see the full name of all of the participants in this group chat. But when you set this up, you have the flexibility of deciding how much you want to show your clients. So you can either choose to let them see the full names of the other participants, just the first and last initial, or the first name only, right? So you've got different levels of privacy that you can enforce, not allow them to see the participant list at all. So there are a lot of different options in terms of how you can manage your practice here.
Wow, I actually did not know that you had this group feature. So this is like a Facebook group. I mean, this is so you could do those group challenges and have people interacting and supporting each other. Wow, I didn't know this was available.
Yeah, I mean, certainly definitely not Facebook, but it's a great alternative. We had a lot of users telling us they didn't want to be talking about health stuff in a Facebook group. Right. We love Facebook, not knocking Facebook. We have a Facebook group ourselves. But depending on what you're discussing and the purpose of it, if it's part of the accountability to a group program, you might want to make, again, if we're thinking about the client journey and what the process, their experience is going to look like, certainly having everything in one place where they only log into one place is going to be easier for them than having to log into multiple places or set up a Facebook account if they don't already have one, which, believe it or not, some people don't. I know there are not that many, but some people don't.
No, I do. I have quite a few people who are not on Facebook, so this is great. Really great.
Yeah. In terms of showing you what the programs look like, so my programs, so you can set up either fixed date or evergreen programs. Fixed date being those live programs or live groups that you're going to be leading. So let's say it's a 6-week program, or again, whatever the case might be, it's live. It means everyone's going to get the content at the same time, on the same dates, at the same time. An evergreen program is going to be those programs that people can enroll into so long as they have the registration link, or that you can enroll new clients into, and they're going to go through it at their own speed. So just showing you what this looks like a little bit. You can decide the start date. You can cap how many people are going to be in it. This is a past program. You can decide when the content's going out. So week 1 went out on August 6th at 9 a.m. Week 2 went out on August 12th. And just showing you what this stuff looks like. For example, week 1, I mean, this is just my deep dive webinar that I linked back here, but you can embed a YouTube link or a Vimeo link so that way you can have a bit more of an interactive piece to your program or the educational program that you're running. So they'd be able to watch this right here. You can include videos. Yeah. You can include videos. You can include text. I just put a variety of colors and sizes just so you can see the, how you can kind of format this. You can add documents, right? You can include tasks for your clients to complete. So if we look at the tasks at the top, edit. So again, week 1, is there something you want them to do that you don't want to have to personally remind them of? You build it into module. Week 1, I want them to introduce themselves into the group chat. Great. So they're going to get that as part of their week 1 module, and they'll click complete once they've done it. These are the 2 forms I want them to complete. And you have the option to include any of the forms that you've built. So, forms or worksheets. So these are the 2 forms that I want them to fill out as part of week 1. And then you continue to build your program. There's flexibility here too in terms of being able to, if you're doing group, again, and whether you're doing group programs or not, none of these features are required. So you can use as much or as little as you want, but just showing you the nature of how robust like running an online program could be. You could, if you're using the Zoom integration to do group HIPAA compliant video calls, you can actually build those sessions into the program. So when a client joins that program, a fixed date program, they automatically get enrolled to the group sessions. You can also link a group chat to that as well. So this one's it's not a very beautiful one like the other one, but just the point being that everything can be in one place.
That's great. So the only reason to integrate with Zoom would be so that you can do the group video.
Correct.
Okay. I was curious about that because the video portal that you have here on Practice Better is HIPAA compliant, and that's for the one-on-one.
One-on-one, exactly.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. And if you already have your own Zoom account and you don't, like if the offering doesn't require HIPAA compliance, you can just use your own Zoom account and just link it to Practice Better. If you require a HIPAA compliant version of Zoom, which is otherwise $200 a month, you can purchase it as an add-on in Practice Better for $30. And you'd be able to do HIPAA compliant group sessions.
Wow, that's fantastic. Fantastic. Well, I know we're heading on to the top of the hour here, and I promised I wouldn't keep you too long, but I really thought this would be just like a short interview. But this is fantastic. I really appreciate you going through all of this stuff. Were there some other things that you wanted to show before we close up here?
I guess I'd turn it back to the group. Is there anything in particular that anyone else wants to see? Anything that would be the most useful?
Well, I would like you to point out just on this page right here, which is basically the Practitioner Dashboard. Mm-hmm. You have 2 links there. One is the business assessment here, and then the onboarding guide you have is terrific. It really walks everyone through step by step how to get their account set up and their profile and get their services and programs added in there. Yeah,
so I'm glad you brought this up. So anyone who uses Practice Better,
showing us again, by the way. Just
anyone, thank you. Anyone who signs up for a Practice Better account, whether you're on our freemium model, so our Sprout plan, which is absolutely free, no credit card required, gives you a really great idea of the functionality and nature of Practice Better. You can sign up for our free Business Essentials course. So we've created this Better Business Essentials course. It's 4 weeks. We ran it live a month ago. And it's loaded with just fluff-free content just to help you build a strong foundation from some of our favorite and just really well-trusted industry experts. So there are a variety of experts who contribute to this. And you know what, we know them and we love them. And they were so generous with their knowledge. So even if you're on the free plan, you can go to essentials.practicebetter.io. Lisa, maybe you can include the link to that, and you can sign and you can go through this 4-week program at your own pace for free.
Yeah, I will absolutely put the link in the chat, and I recommend that everybody go through that no matter what. Yeah, it's really good.
It's pretty good. We're really excited about the experts who contributed and the feedback that we've received from our users. Go ahead.
There is a question about pricing for groups, but I think what I recommend doing, unless you want to go through this now, Natalie, but I think that anyone can go to, I put the link on the screen there, just bit.ly/telehealth-med. Full disclosure, that is my affiliate link. I think people know in ABA that I do use affiliate links. It's a way that I am able to sustain what it is that we're doing here. So I appreciate people using that link. But you could go ahead in and just look at the different plans and the different pricing models that are up there. So
absolutely. And I mean, I can just tell you quickly, even though I won't show you the page, but if you go to Lisa's link, as she mentioned, the pricing will all be listed on there. Our prices range from free. Our first paid plan is $19, and then they go up to $79 a month for solo practitioners. So the way we design the plans really, it's supposed to follow your journey in growing your business. So if you're just starting out, the Sprout plan's a great place to start. Like I said, they're $0 for as long as that plan works for you, no credit card required, gives you access to almost 80% of our features. Then if you're starting to work with clients one-on-one and you want to do telehealth, you can do our $19 starter plan for up to 10 clients. Then for $49, you can start working with groups and you can start working with programs, the fixed date program. For $79, you can have access to all of the functionality, add an administrator to your account as well. And you even have branding, which we didn't even have a chance to talk about, but you also have access to branding the website version of Practice Better. And all of the plans have access to the free mobile app. So whether you're starting on the Sprout plan or the starter plan or wherever you are, you and your clients can use the app with full functionality on any plan. And then that brings us to the team plan. The team plan is $135 for 2 practitioners and 2 admins, and then $35 for any add-on practitioner, so any additional practitioner.
Wow,
go ahead.
I've looked at a bunch of different platforms, and I can just tell you your pricing is fantastic. I mean, it really is. And I like that it's structured for the growth so that you don't have to dive in at you can just work your way up. So thank you for doing that.
We love what we do. Like, we absolutely love what we do. I very much went into nutrition at the beginning because I wanted to make health and wellness available to everyone. My journey changed a little, but now it's part of our company mission is to support the work that you're doing to make health and wellness available to more people. So we get to impact way more lives than I would have ever been able to do on my own. So we love what we do. We want to make sure it's accessible. We continue to work on improving it. Even the things that our users already love, we're always looking at continuing to evolve as a team, as a company, as a platform. So yeah, we definitely are very blessed that we get to do what we love.
Well, I'm very grateful for what you do. And that's a good note to end on, but I'm not going to end there. And the reason is because Sylvie asked a good question and I don't know the answer to it. And I want to make sure that she gets the answer. So regarding intellectual property, she's asking, if I create an educational video or any type of media, is it secure from being copied and shared outside of this platform?
Does that mean us Practice Better sharing it?
I think so. I mean,
well, I just want to make sure because there are a couple of things. So one, anything you add into Practice Better is your property. That is all part of the terms. You can go and read our terms of service. We don't share any of your stuff. Like that is, it's your stuff. It's your data. You own it. We are just facilitating, you storing it and working with your clients. So that's a fantastic question. I think going on to any platform, you should be asking that question. In terms of outside of Practice Better, I wasn't sure if it was, can your clients share your information? Like once they've accessed it, you can, if you're doing videos, if you're adding videos to the platform, or if you're adding resources to a program, you can make sure that they can't download them. But that piece is something that's a little bit hard to, that will always, as long as you're going to be doing online stuff, is always going to be a little bit tricky to manage. There's always a little bit of risk involved in that. But in terms of Practice Better using your property, absolutely not. It is your information, your data, your program, your intellectual property.
So from the client perspective, you can control whether or not they can download some of that information?
From the programs, yeah. So you can, when you attach or add an attachment to a module, you can say, don't let them download this.
Or vice versa. You might want them to download it, to print it out, to do some
exactly
kind of work. That's great. Okay, Nathalie. Well, I just want to say thank you once again for taking time. I'm sure this is a crazy busy time for you. So I really deeply am grateful for you taking the time to educate the acupuncture community. I'm sure this video will get a lot of views, and I will recommend that everybody sign up for an account, go to the demo page. You can watch through the videos. And then also once you're inside the account, you have got that business course that you can take. And then there's also an excellent onboarding section. So you can go through those videos and learn how to set it up and just play with it. I mean, the free account is fantastic. You can work with 3 clients on the free account and put in your services and your programs and really get a lot of practice with it.
Yeah. And if you have any additional questions, our customer success team, they're fantastic. They are fantastic. So you can reach out to them, shoot them an email at help@practicebetter.io. They're, like I said, they're fantastic. I can't say enough great things about them, and they're always available to help. If you need to, jump on a call and walk through something, they're available for that as well. So yeah, just let them know if you have any questions at all.
All right. Thank you, Nathalie. I will post these links in the chat for everybody, and we promise not to bug your team too much.
No, that's okay. We're happy to help. Thank you so much, Lisa. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you. You too. You take good care. Bye-bye.
Bye.